Hey Algebra, today we're going to talk about inverse linear functions. And you know that let's just say it like this. If I had an x and a y, maybe like 3 and 2, and if I wanted to do the inverse of that, I'm just going to kind of flip it around. So the inverse, this is not a function yet, this is a relation, but an inverse relation of this is I would flip it around and make it, instead of 3, 2, it would be 2, 3. Okay? Pretty easy. So basically what I'm saying is any x and y, if I want to do the inverse of that, I flip it around and make it y and then x. Okay? If I have a function, remember a function is going to be in this kind of notation. It's going to be f of x equals something like, x plus 1 or something like that. Okay? F of x is essentially the same as y. So if I want to flip that around and make an inverse function out of that, there's a certain method that I'm going to do. First I'll show you the method, then I'll give you the steps, okay? So the first thing you do is we need a y, because we need to flip the x and y. Well, that is essentially y. So y equals x plus 1. So I replace the f of x with y. Then, because I'm doing the inverse, is I flip the x and y. So instead of y equals x plus 1, I'm going to make it x equals y plus 1. And then I want to get y by itself, so I move the 1 over, and I get y equals x minus 1. Okay? So this, oh no, sorry, one last step is I have to replace that back with f of x. So f of x equals x minus 1. So this is actually the inverse function of my first thing. And the way I write this is, this is f negative 1. I put that means the inverse function of this, and it turns into that. Okay, so that's the notation that you'll see. They'll say, give the inverse function of that function, or something like that. All right? So just to review, let's do those steps. First, you're going to replace wherever it says f of x with y. Then you're going to, I shouldn't say flip, let's say we're going to switch the x and the y. And then we're going to solve for y. And then lastly, after we have y equals something, you're just going to replace it again with, it'll actually be f of negative 1 x, so the inverse function. Okay? So any example they give you, that's what you're going to do. Okay? Hope that made sense. Quick and easy, but it's a pretty simple thing to do.